you have to acknowledge that Shakespeare was one of the primary inventors of the language that we use today. He was a fountainhead of phrases and words and so on that we now take for granted. Of course, the other great shaper of our language is the King James version of the Bible. But it has a paltry vocabulary compared with Shakespeare's fountain of explosive fountain of words. So he did, in terms of just giving us the means to communicate. He's our godfather. I think he's acknowledged as one of the greatest dramatists ever. The fact that the Russians claim him, the French, the Germans, or whatever, that he's not English or American. He is this universal playwright speaking and voicing extraordinary truths because he seems to have the finger on the pulse of what makes people tick. He's fascinated by the human condition. And yet, you have to put it back. He was also, writing plays for actors to perform. And so the formula is he's extraordinary because he's in the same play that he can, for people who are, maybe a little more educated, have the essays of Bacon in their pockets going to watch a Shakespeare play, they will get this wonderful existential examination of, what is man and what's the point, where are we going, and, what is death? All these wonderful issues. In the same play that an ignorant, uneducated citizen can pay his penny, stand in the rain, and watch a play about armies and witches and poisonings and revenge and so on, he absolutely gets his money's worth. So he has this wonderful ability to encompass all these interests. I think for the actor also, he is one of the most generous of authors because he doesn't want you don't have to do, what the author intended, because you're never quite sure with Shakespeare what he intends. He sort of supplies great situations, extraordinary words, but he wants your collaboration. He wants your input, it's always a teamwork. There's not a definitive thing that you have to do that makes it a Shakespearean performance or a Shakespearean Hamlet. That's not what he wants, and that's, I think, the reason why he's endured for so long, and why every country sees him as their playwright, and while he'll go on being performed, because he's language has changed over the years, and the fact that the phrases that he uses, they're not pretentious and highfalutin and poetic. The imagery is all from chairs and tables and glasses and whatever, the things that people relate to. He doesn't talk in self-conscious poetic terms. Yeah, and also because he's being made an academic subject, which he would have hated. But once you get, if the class was made to perform a play, to actually, inhabit the roles and make them live, once you get behind it, it's amazing. And kids get Shakespeare. I mean, he's very, very user-friendly. I think if you're a young person growing up, adolescent, and you play Hamlet, and there are all sorts of things that you relate to. It's all about relationships with parents and loyalties and friends, school friends. What's it all about? Love. Relationships with women. There are lots of things you relate to. And the other thing about Shakespeare is that the language, as I say, it's very easy to learn in a way, because again, Shakespeare is a genius, and he constructs language in such a way that inhabits an actor's mind very comfortably. And by the same token, it's very difficult to unlearn, because You know, it rattles around, and it sort of fertilizes the language. You find yourself speaking, you know, using Shakespearean phrases all the time. You know, I come from a British tradition, and I think no British actor considers himself a true actor unless he has Shakespeare under his belt. Not just because it's, you know, but because it's a practical thing, that he is the best. And he, you know, if you perform Shakespeare, you know, you learn great things about breath control. He's, and I think he's so often misunderstood in this country, where the method tradition is very strong. You know, this, especially in movies, fantastic for movies, useless for Shakespeare, because so many actors feel that they ought to, instead of just playing the role, you know, the best acting lesson is there in Hamlet, by the way. You know, this rather cheeky prince tells these professional actors how they should, you know, how they should perform this play. And it's really, behind Hamlet, there's Shakespeare imploring actors for this new style that he's creating, you know. Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it, as many of your players do, I had as lief the town crier spoke my lines. Nor do not saw the air too much with your hands thus, but use all gently. Be not too tame neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action, with this special observance, that ye o'erstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so done is from the purpose of playing, whose end, both at the first and now, was and is, to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time his form and pressure. It goes on a bit, but so nothing's changed. What else do you need? It's a question, are we better off if we know exactly who Shakespeare was? Are we to accept the Stratfordian candidate, who for my money is a little unlikely? He was a man who could barely write his name, whose wife was illiterate, who owned no books, and nothing was spoken about him in his lifetime. It seems that the William Shakespeare of Warwickshire is not the brilliant genius, the William Shake-Spear, Elizabethan giveaway for a pseudonym, who wrote these plays. And my own feeling, as a candidate, the Earl of Oxford, Edward de Vere, is highly plausible. But the smoking gun that will link him, you know, there's a lot of evidence. But are we better off knowing who he is, or are we just, you know, well off just having the, you know, what he wrote to go on?